One of our OBGA affiliate gardens is Lendonwood Gardens here in Grove, Oklahoma. And we're here today to talk about one of the most popular shade perennials in the country. And those are the hostas. And we've picked an appropriate site because there's a collection of over 75 varieties right here at the gardens. Well, right here is Dr. Leonard Miller. Hello,
Hi,
Leonard.
Steve.
Welcome back to the program.
Yes, welcome to Lendonwood.
It's great to be here. It looks great this time of year.
Yeah, I just kept saying it's for a person who likes plants, this big candy shop.
Candy for our eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
So Leonard, why do you think hostas are so popular?
Well, as we get into gardening, a lot of time our gardens are fairly mature with larger trees, and thus we have a lot of shade. And there are not many plants that do quite as well as the hostas. And particularly if you have understory trees above the primary trees, now you have a real dense shade, and hostas perform under that condition.
Well, they certainly are performing well here in this garden. So right here, which hosta do we have, and why do you have a good expanse of this one?
Well, it's a vigorous plant, and obviously we put 12 plants out here, Steve, and now it's like a hedge. This is So Sweet, great plant for all of Oklahoma. If you've got a shady condition, north side of your house, under a big tree, where you can give it some water and a little bit of protection. This is a great plant for Oklahoma gardens.
Okay, and it's got fragrant flowers with a name like So Sweet, you would think?
Yeah, I would hope, although I'm so busy pulling weeds here, Steve, I don't have a chance to smell all the flowers.
Okay.
But one thing I wanted to bring out about hostas is that they have some problems with pests, and one of the pests is a ground vole, a small mouse. And so I recommend that you pull the leaves and the mulch away from your plant during the winter time, and don't give the voles a place for them to
nest and
yeah,
hide.
they can eat your hostas in a minute.
Okay. Well, let's look at this very showy hosta on the other side of the pathway here. Which one is this, Dr. Miller?
This is June, and a number of people who love hostas claim this is one of the best ones in our garden. It does have a really contrasting type pattern in its leaf, and you can see it's a middle size, mid-size hostas, about 12 to 24 inches tall. So it's not a dwarf, not the tall variety, it's the middle one.
Okay, there you can see about 4 different colors of green in those leaves, but the darker areas are almost a blue color. So what exactly is it that gives it that blue color?
Well, when the hosta first forms its leaves, it has a tomentum, or a wax-like material that forms on the top that gives it a sort of a coat, a coating there. And as the season grows along here in Oklahoma, and it gets really hot, that seems to dissipate, and where you have cooler climates, that stays on there. So we're a little hindered in our blue varieties of staying blue for a long time. However, today we have some great blue varieties.
All right, well, I can't wait to see them. So I guess it's almost like with the heat, the wax is kind of melting away a little bit.
I guess so, and unfortunately for us here in Oklahoma, we do have a little heat.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Miller, which are some of these varieties?
Well, here's an old plant, one of the earlier varieties of the yellow foliage. This one's August Moon. And August Moon, as you can see here, has this light yellow look, and it gives an entirely different look than, say, the green with the yellow. This is just solid chartreuse or light yellow color, and they are known to take more sun. So you could probably give this plant a little bit more sun.
So the gold hostas in general?
Yes, can take more sun. And supposedly to keep the blue color, you want to keep those out of the sun so you stay with the blue color instead of turning to a green color.
Okay. And for the gardeners in the western part of Oklahoma, it would be best to not only keep those hostas out of the sun, but also out of our hot southwest winds. So maybe on the east or the north side of a fence or a home or some kind of structure would be a good idea.
You know, Steve, the key to growing hostas is water.
Water.
And here, since we're a display garden and people come here to see our plants, we do not deny our plants any water. And so we produce a sprinkler head that has 1 gallon a minute, and we use about 45 minutes of water in the very hottest time of the year. And boy, the hostas will really increase in size.
Okay.
Larger leaves, more divisions, bigger clumps.
More shoots.
Here's
more,
a really
plant.
great one right here. This one is Patriot. This is one of the top hostas. The bright, creamy on, then fades to a white edge. Really a nice plant, Patriot.
These variegated hostas, like most other variegated plants in the shade, that white color just really helps brighten up the shadier spots of the garden. This looks like a much larger hosta in the background. Which one is that one? That's
probably Blue Mammoth, or it could be Blue Angel. Right now, the plant has eaten the label.
Okay, we'd have to get in there.
Look how big that thing has gotten. But I do have Blue Angel, but I think that's Blue Mammoth. And Blue Angel is just a little bluer, but very, very similar.
Okay. And we have some more Patriot.
Yes.
Right here. And here's another of the blue ones.
Yes, this one is probably one of the bluest of the Oklahoma, what I'd call an Oklahoma group, the ones that do well here in Oklahoma. And this is Cousa Regal. And it's a great plant. Has a vase shape rather than more of a
mounding.
ground hugging. Yeah, it creates a sort of a vase-like. Long stems, gives you a little more height in the garden.
A different plant form to kind of play with in your garden too.
Yeah.
You can almost see some of the wax come off the leaves when you rub them a little bit.
Right. Now some hostas are grown for their flowers, and this one is Aphrodite. You know, you're not going to get too excited about the leaf on this plant. It's just a large green leaf. But when the flowers come up, it's a double fragrant flower. It's really spectacular. And we haven't really talked about the flowers on hostas, but that's just an added bonus that you get in hostas. They do have a scape, sometimes with small leaves on them, and produce nice flowers. And some of them are fragrant. So you can cut those and bring them in the house. It's a nice addition to your shade garden.
Okay. Let's look at some other hostas down this way.
Okay.
Well, Leonard, there are so many different patterns and colors in the variegation of these hostas. Like this one right here.
Yeah, that's Great Expectations, and it has the beautiful yellow center. When it first comes out, it's even more vivid than that, but then you have the dark green, almost blue-like edges to it, and it's not just a small fine edge, it's really a bold edge.
A wider
yes.
margin.
And then we have the sort of opposite of that, and that is the Francis Williams up here that has the green center and the yellow on the outside.
So just the opposite variegation.
And Steve, this has a little bit of a problem. It was very touted as an exciting new introduction, but see, it has a little bit of a flaw there, and you do have some
scorching
problems. Yeah, some scorching there, but it is still a beautiful plant.
That's a nice plant right there. Let's take a look at some of those smaller hostas you have.
Right. Steve, this is a row of Great Expectations. Here at Lendonwood, we have huge expanses of hostas here, and you can just find your favorite.
All different kinds.
Yep. Yeah. Steve, that Francis Williams down there by the stream is over 10 years old, so in time they do produce bigger leaves and larger clumps. really makes a nice show.
That's an incredible plant. Well, in addition to the hostas, there certainly is a wonderful collection of other plants here in the garden at Lendonwood, like this tree right here. In fact, this is the first time I've ever seen this tree. So can you tell us a little bit about this plant, Leonard?
Yeah, we have over 1,500 different types of plants, and this has got to be one of our most rare trees. This is Tyrol styrex, and just a beautiful flower, a raceme of clusters of white flowers that come down, and we're real lucky to be here to see it in flower.
I love that pendulous habit of those flower structures. So these are the smaller hostas that
yeah, we have a
here.
dwarf hosta collection, and when you go to the nursery, you find you actually pay a little more for these plants. They're slower in propagation. They're a little slower in increasing in size and numbers. But here at Lendonwood, we've got a great sort of north slope on this hillside here with small plants set out with our labels. And that's part of the botanical garden system, is that we have labels on our plants so you know what you're looking at.
Okay, so
There's
even
some great plants here.
Even if the homeowner has a very small location for planting hostas, they can still grow several different varieties.
Yeah, and Steve, look at this one. It's a Venusta, and Venusta is only about 4 inches tall.
That is tiny.
And can you could plant this around an oak tree, around the roots of an oak tree, which is one of the places that they recommend this plant, and it forms a nice little ground cover. Kind of slow to get going, but give it a little water and some care, and pretty soon you'll have something that's quite permanent.
Doesn't even really look like a hosta. This one certainly has a lot of white in the foliage right down here.
Yeah, that's a little bit different story. That's a little tougher to grow because it doesn't have any chlorophyll in the middle here. It takes a little more sheltered place. That's White Christmas.
Okay.
And it's a tougher one to grow.
Okay, so there's a very small gold-leaved form back there. It's like shiny penny.
Yeah, that's a new introduction. A fella came to the garden, and his brother hybridizes hostas, and he sent me that one.
Okay.
So yeah, and we've got some great ones here, and I like this one up here, this Dorset blue. Just a great blue.
Oh yeah,
and
that is
a small statue. Yeah, small plant.
Yeah, very soft color of blue. Really like that one. Well, here's a little bit larger hosta, I guess kind of out of the smaller hostas, but very shiny gold-leaved variety.
Yeah, and as we move through the garden, we begin to get more and more light, and so we can use plants that can take more light, and that's the yellow varieties, and this one's Aztec Treasure, and just boy, I mean, it's a neon light in the garden. Okay. Here's another plant over here called Mildred Sievert, and if you really like that gold edge and in a medium size, that's a great plant. Look at that.
That's a beautiful collection you got there of those. Let's take a look at some more of the plants you have here, Leonard. This is the first time I've ever seen a mountain laurel growing in a garden in Oklahoma. I've seen them in Virginia and other places on the East Coast, but I'm impressed to see one here in Oklahoma.
Boy, I'm excited too. I tried to find the coolest place. They're from high altitude, Steve. And so I have a north slope here, and I planted on the north side of this big tree. So that's just about as cool a spot as I've got. And then I do irrigate it quite a bit. But look at that beautiful color. Worked a lot of years trying to grow this, and they've all died. But this one looks pretty good. And I got a great white one over there too.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed and that one will get established. But yeah, the wonderful pink and the white, I just love the way the buds look. Kind of those ridges on the buds before the flowers open. We have some really nice foxgloves in your garden, so how do you grow these?
Well, you have to have some organic soil. Really, they're biennials, and they set their flower in this time of year around middle of May. Then they will form a seed and drop to the ground. When the cool fall comes along with the rain, if you've not deadheaded or cut the flower off, these seeds will fall to the ground. They'll germinate and produce a plant this year. So then the spring of next year, they'll grow and produce a flower.
Okay.
They're biannual, but they are more or less, takes 2 years, but almost like an annual.
Okay.
In a way.
So you just let them go to seed and they do their own thing?
Right, aren't these gorgeous?
They're
And I just
spectacular.
planted one here, Steve, and look at the seeds have dropped around, and now you've got a whole garden full of gorgeous flowers.
Seems pretty easy to me. Well, Leonard, we certainly appreciate the tour of your Hosta collection and getting to look at all your other plants here at the garden. I think the gardens are just spectacular. So if people want to know more about Lendonwood Gardens, what can they do?
Well, you could go on the internet, go to Google, search engine, type in Lendonwood, and we have a really great web page that'll tell you all about it, a lot of the different bloom periods, the times of different blooming in the garden, and then there's a map there that you can find our garden.
And they can make their way here to Grove, Oklahoma. Well, thank you very much.
You bet. Enjoyed it.
Great tour.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.